After getting no sleep on a red-eye flight from JFK Airport in New York, my brother, two of our nieces, and I hit the ground running. Our first stop was the Christ Church Cathedral, also known as the Cathedral of the Holy Trinity. This Protestant cathedral is located in the heart of medieval Dublin and is Dublin's oldest building. It was originally founded in the late 11th century, but was extensively renovated and rebuilt in the early 19th century. More renovations were carried out in the 1980s. The cathedral features a combination of Romanesque and Gothic architecture. The Romanesque characterized by rounded arches and windows, thick stone walls and semicircular shapes, and the Gothic characterized by pointed arches, spires, pointed turrets, and a rose window. This is the Homeless Jesus statue, a work by Canadian sculptor Tim Schmaltz. It's a 7-foot cast bronze park bench depicting Christ hidden beneath blankets, his identity known only by the holes in his feet. It was designed to prompt public reflection on the plight of the homeless. The cathedral's interior is Gothic in style with many Victorian accents due to 20th century restoration and redecoration. The pointed arches are characteristically Gothic. This is the reputed effigy of Richard de Clare, 2nd Earl of Pembroke, also known as Strongbow, a medieval Norman-Welsh warlord whose arrival marked the beginning of Anglo-Norman involvement in Ireland. In 1562, the nave roof vaulting collapsed and Strongbow's effigy was smashed. The current effigy is a contemporary replacement. It is believed that his body may be buried somewhere in the cathedral walls.
There is no unrighteousness in it. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. As it was in the beginning, is now, and shall be forever. Amen. Please sit for the reading. And all the 600 Gittites who had followed him from Gath passed on before the king. Why are you also coming with us? Go back and stay with the king, for you are a foreigner, and also an exile from your home. Go back and take your kinsfolk with you.
Where are the bones? Christ Church Cathedral also contains the largest cathedral crypt in Britain or Ireland, which is about 200 feet long. While I was expecting to see a lot of bones and skulls, this 12th century crypt actually contains priceless silver and Ireland's first copy of the Magna Carta.
My diary.
The original Magna Carta was written in 1215 in England, and it established that executive power should not be above the law. This is a 14th century copy. Our next stop was St. Patrick's Cathedral. St. Patrick was a religious figure who baptized Christian converts almost 1,500 years ago. The cathedral was founded in 1191, and it's the national cathedral of the Church of Ireland, even though it lacks the key component of a cathedral, a bishop. According to its website, the cathedral is both Protestant and Catholic. Most of Ireland is Roman Catholic. With its 141-foot spire, St. Patrick's is the tallest church in Ireland and the largest. Construction on the current building began from 1220 to 1260 on the site of a 5th century church. In 1316, the cathedral tower was blown down by a storm. In 1362, part of the nave was destroyed by a fire. In 1537, the cathedral became an Anglican cathedral following the English Reformation. In 1548, the cathedral became a courthouse. In 1688, the cathedral was briefly repossessed by Catholic King James II during the Williamite Wars. There was major reconstruction in the 19th century. In 1916, the Easter Rising led to the temporary closing of the cathedral. Unfortunately, no original stained glass windows survive in St. Patrick's Cathedral. The oldest windows date from the middle of the 19th century. With both Christ Church Cathedral and St. Patrick's Cathedral, there was almost no precedent for a two-cathedral city. A confrontational situation persisted over the decades after the establishment of St. Patrick's and was eventually settled by the signing of a 6-point agreement in 1300. The two cathedrals were to act as one and shared equally in their freedoms until 1870. Since 1870, the Church of Ireland has designated St. Patrick's as a national cathedral for the whole of Ireland. However, to this day, Christ Church is still viewed by the Roman Catholic Church as the primary official Dublin cathedral. The oldest monument in the building, a stone effigy in the north choir aisle, is that of Fulk de Saunford, Archbishop of Dublin from 1256 to 1271, the first archbishop to be buried in St. Patrick's Cathedral. The church's most famous officer was Jonathan Swift, who wrote Gulliver's Travels in the early 18th century. He was dean of the cathedral from 1713 to 1745. He is buried next to his longtime companion Esther Johnson, aka Stella. He wrote his own epitaph, which roughly translated from Latin says, "Here lies the body of Jonathan Swift, Doctor of Divinity and Dean of this cathedral, where savage indignation can no longer lacerate his heart. Go, traveler, and imitate if you can, this dedicated and earnest champion of liberty. He died on the 19th October 1745, aged 78 years. The Boyle family monument is a huge monument at the west end of the cathedral, which was erected in 1632 by Richard Boyle, 1st Earl of Cork, for himself, his wife, and his family. The size and position of the monument caused great offense to many, and it was removed and boxed in 1634. It was moved to its present position in 1863. This is a beautiful cathedral.
Irish Cork over there, you see. We just go
Ah,
around,
okay.
you know.
Yes, and it's a lived-in cathedral. There's services here every day. They have masses, they have baptism, they have weddings. People come around from all over the world to come to get married here, because if their ancestors immigrated, which the Irish did an awful lot, they would have had to come to the town of Cobh to catch the sailing boats or the emigration ships to bring them to the New World. So when generations have passed, they said, we'd love to get married in Cobh. They come back here to get married. So it's a real lived-in church, as I say. We just finished 10 o'clock Mass now, and they have services every day. But you can wander wherever you like, take photographs. It's built in the shape of a Gothic cross, so there's eaves at either side with a lot of information on the walls.
Jer je to manje više sve uz autoput, samo pitaš. Sve u svemu, idemo
Looks like a few crypts or tombs here. 1846, I think it says. This one looks very old. Let's see if there's a date on it. That date looks worn off, cannot tell. This one, 1888. We've arrived in Killarney. I found another church, St. Mary's Church of Ireland.
And you also read an interior Westminster Abbey.
This is the Ross Errilly, if I'm pronouncing it right, Friary, several hundred years old. You know, Ron, this friary is a little cold. I hope they have a fireplace. Stacy, like my joke?
I didn't hear it.
This friary is a little cold. I hope they have a fireplace.
Huh?
Yep, my family does not appreciate my outstanding humor. I just realized that our tour guide left us here. This is really a maze and we're never getting out. I don't know how to get out of here. Okay.
Wait, so can you go inside?
Kylemore Abbey.
I mean, the door is open.
Yes, it looks like they're doing a little restoration.
It was originally a two-storey building, and overhead is where the abbot stayed, and he had complete control over who came in here and who went. His name was Jock. We suspect he was a Scottish man with a name like that, and of course he had a good understanding of commerce, so that suited him down to the ground. And of course anybody that had any loot, he took it, and he needed a place to store all that loot, and no better place than the Round Tower. To get in there, you had to climb a ladder. You went in through the door, you pulled the ladder in after you, and then you closed the door. You were as safe as a house on fire then. Because who was outside? Only the Vikings, and all they had at that stage was sticks and stones. And when they got tired throwing stones at that building, they went home. The Irish came out, and everybody lived happily ever after. What it is 3 letters, IHS, which means I have suffered. It's a religious thing. They built it as a cathedral. It's much wider, much longer than any other building in this valley. And I like that word recycle. They recycled the stone from the original church. The stone because there's 800 years of monks and abbots buried in here. And when you're going out through the door there, the curate says, from the real wall somehow and the side entrance collapsed. But the answer to that is the archway over the door. The archway over the door spreads the way to the western wall. The side entrance there was a flat rock and it collapsed that. And that tall lump of stone that's sticking up there, that's actually a cross there. But anyway, it's alleged that that's where St. Kevin is buried. Now we cannot carry out an archaeological dig here until 3 years after the last person is buried here. And 2 more people have the rights to be buried here. One is a Griffin and one is a Burn. Now both of them are in their 80s, they won't be too long more anyway. And we'll have them buried. And 3 years from then we can carry out an archaeological dig. And then we'll find out whether St. Kevin is there or not. Now I don't see anything wrong with getting 2 shovels and a pick, and we'll find out this evening, but the archaeology crowd don't take too kindly to my suggestions. But anyway, we have to leave it at that. Bye. St. Kevin's kitchen. Now it never was a kitchen. But the locals here, when they saw the bell tower, they said it looked more like a kitchen than a bell tower. And they christened it St. Kevin's kitchen, and of course, like most, it stuck.
Really?
And it's known as the O Connell Memorial Church. It's the only church in Ireland not named after a personal cloth or a place. Now, the church, if you see it on a sunny day, the sun is beaming down, it's known as the Shining Church or the Glistening Church. It's all made from sandstone. And sandstone is like little diamonds in the stone itself. When the sun hits it, the stone kind of shines out at you. To build this church, all the materials to build this church were taken down here from the top of Ireland to the bottom of Ireland, free of charge, in remembrance how great Daniel O'Connell was.